Welcome back to our chilling series exploring the forsaken corners of the United States, where history and horror intertwine in ways that defy explanation. In this third installment of Most Haunted Abandoned Places in the U.S., we venture deeper into the shadows cast by ghostly legends, uncovering tales so spine-tingling they'll leave you questioning the boundaries between the living and the dead. From crumbling asylums to desolate factories, the abandoned places we explore are more than just relics of a bygone era. They're vessels carrying the echoes of lives lived and lost. These sites bear witness to events that continue to reverberate through time: tragic accidents, unspeakable violence, and the lingering presence of those who refuse to move on. Each location holds its own dark secrets, whispered through creaking floorboards, flickering lights, and disembodied voices that drift through empty halls. Whether you're drawn by morbid curiosity or an insatiable thirst for the supernatural, these destinations promise encounters that blur the line between reality and nightmare. In this episode, we'll journey to some of the most infamous haunted locales across the country, places steeped in lore and fear, where the past refuses to stay buried. We'll peer into the shadowy depths of abandoned hospitals, explore eerie mansions cloaked in mystery, and tread cautiously through decaying institutions teeming with restless spirits. Along the way, we'll hear first-hand accounts from witnesses brave enough to confront the unknown, examine chilling evidence captured by paranormal investigators, and unravel the tragic histories that give rise to these hauntings. So dim the lights, keep your ears sharp, and prepare yourself for a descent into the macabre. As we step into the haunted heart of America's abandoned places, remember, sometimes, the most terrifying truths lie just beyond the veil, and once you cross it, there's no turning back. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, a fortress of torment nestled in the rolling hills of Weston, West Virginia, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum stands as a grim monument to the failures of 19th-century mental health care, a sprawling Gothic fortress whose imposing limestone walls conceal decades of suffering, neglect, and unrelenting despair. Originally constructed in 1858 as a sanctuary for the mentally ill, the asylum quickly devolved into a house of horrors, its corridors echoing with the cries of patients subjected to barbaric treatments and inhumane conditions. Today, it remains one of the most haunted abandoned places in the United States, drawing thrill-seekers and paranormal enthusiasts eager to confront its spectral inhabitants. One of the most enduring legends tied to the asylum revolves around Room 502, said to be haunted by the spirit of a nurse named Elizabeth. According to historical accounts, Elizabeth worked tirelessly to care for her patients despite the overwhelming challenges of the overcrowded facility. However, her dedication came at a cost. She was found hanging lifelessly in the room after succumbing to the pressures of her job. Visitors exploring the asylum report hearing faint sobbing emanating from Room 502, accompanied by the sound of footsteps pacing anxiously. Some claim to see a shadowy figure resembling Elizabeth standing near the window, her face obscured by darkness, before vanishing without explanation. Another prominent figure in the asylum's haunted lore is believed to be Jacob, a patient who violently resisted treatment during his confinement. Described as unpredictable and prone to outbursts, Jacob was often restrained in solitary cells deep within the basement. Decades later, paranormal investigators capturing EVP recordings in the area have documented chilling phrases like, "Get out," and "Leave me alone," delivered in tones of sheer desperation. Witnesses describe seeing a gaunt man dressed in tattered clothing darting through the shadows, his hollow eyes gleaming with manic intensity before disappearing into thin air. The asylum's basement, once used for storage and restraint cells, has become a focal point of paranormal activity. Employees tasked with cleaning the area often describe hearing chains rattling and heavy footsteps echoing through the cavernous space, though no one else is present. Some claim to see shadowy figures dragging invisible loads, their movements jerky and unnatural. A particularly unnerving account comes from a maintenance worker who swore he felt cold metal cuffs snap around his wrists, pulling him backward toward the darkness before releasing him abruptly. Overnight visitors to the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum frequently recount bizarre experiences that defy logical explanation. Lights flicker unpredictably, especially in hallways leading to the older sections of the building. Doors slam shut on their own, and the scent of antiseptic wafts through the air despite the structure being abandoned for decades. One guest described waking up to find his reflection in the mirror staring back at him, but not quite matching his movements, as if another entity stood behind him, mimicking his actions. Another recounted seeing a man in a dusty straitjacket standing at the foot of her bed, his hollow eyes boring into hers before vanishing without a sound. Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum remains a popular destination for history enthusiasts and thrill-seekers alike. Its rich tapestry of human drama, interwoven with tragedy and loss, creates an atmosphere unlike any other. For those brave enough to book a stay, the possibility of encountering Elizabeth, Jacob, or one of the countless other spirits said to roam its halls adds an element of excitement and trepidation. Yet, as each new visitor crosses its threshold, they must decide whether they are ready to face the darkness that lingers within these walls, or will they become another chapter in the asylum's tragic tale. The Waverly Hills Sanatorium, shadows of suffering perched atop a hill overlooking Louisville, Kentucky. The Waverly Hills Sanatorium looms as a grim reminder of humanity's struggle against tuberculosis, a disease that claimed millions of lives during the early 20th century. Opened in 1910, the sanatorium initially served as a beacon of hope for those afflicted with the deadly illness, offering fresh air, sunlight therapy, and cutting-edge treatments. Its expansive grounds and stately architecture exuded optimism, yet beneath its polished veneer lay a darker narrative, one marked by isolation, despair, and untimely deaths. One of the most infamous aspects of the sanatorium is its body chute, a hidden tunnel used to transport deceased patients away from prying eyes. This subterranean passageway, stretching over half a mile, became symbolic of the secrecy and stigma surrounding tuberculosis. Patients who succumbed to the disease were discreetly removed via the chute, ensuring that morale among the living remained intact. Decades later, visitors exploring the abandoned sanatorium report hearing faint whispers and the sound of footsteps echoing through the body chute, as though the spirits of the departed continue their somber procession. Some claim to see shadowy figures clad in hospital gowns wandering aimlessly, their faces obscured by darkness, while others describe feeling an oppressive weight pressing down on them as they descend into the tunnel. Another haunting figure associated with Waverly Hills is believed to be Timmy, a young boy who died shortly after being admitted to the sanatorium in the 1940s. Despite the bleak circumstances, Timmy reportedly brought joy to fellow patients with his playful antics and infectious laughter. His tragic death sent shockwaves through the community, and many believe his spirit lingers to this day. Paranormal investigators exploring the property have captured EVP recordings suggesting the presence of a childlike voice giggling softly, interspersed with fragmented phrases like, "Play with me." Witnesses described seeing a small figure darting through the halls, only to vanish when approached. The sanatorium's fourth-floor solarium, once a place of healing where patients soaked up sunlight to combat their illness, has also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Employees tasked with maintaining the area describe hearing muffled voices and the sound of footsteps echoing through the narrow passageways, though no one else is present. Objects are known to move inexplicably. Tools vanish only to reappear hours later in entirely different locations. One particularly unnerving incident involved a janitor who swore he saw a young girl playing with marbles in the corner of the room, only for the child to disappear when approached. Theories abound that the girl may have been a victim of illness or accident during the sanatorium's operational years, forever trapped in the confines of its upper levels. Modern-day investigations into the Waverly Hills Sanatorium's supernatural claims have yielded intriguing results. Thermal imaging cameras reveal significant temperature drops in specific areas, including the body chute and the fourth-floor solarium. Electromagnetic field (EMF) meters register unusual spikes, particularly near antique furniture pieces believed to have belonged to original occupants. Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from audio recordings, which capture disembodied voices uttering fragmented sentences like, "Help me," and "Let me go." Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted allure, the Waverly Hills Sanatorium continues to draw visitors eager to immerse themselves in its storied past. For those brave enough to book a tour, the opportunity to encounter Timmy or one of the countless other spirits said to roam its halls adds an element of excitement and trepidation. The Eastern State Penitentiary, echoes of incarceration in the heart of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Eastern State Penitentiary stands as a stark testament to the evolution and eventual failure of the American penal system. Opened in 1829, the prison pioneered the concept of solitary confinement, aiming to rehabilitate inmates through isolation and reflection. Its radial design, featuring long corridors radiating from a central hub, became a model for prisons worldwide. Yet beneath its innovative facade lay a darker reality, one marked by overcrowding, neglect, and systemic abuse. One of the most pervasive legends tied to Eastern State Penitentiary centers around Cell Block 12, said to be haunted by the spirit of Al Capone. Though the infamous gangster spent less than a year incarcerated there in 1929, his presence seems to linger. Visitors report hearing faint strains of classical music drifting through the air, reminiscent of Capone's fondness for orchestral compositions. Others describe seeing a well-dressed figure pacing anxiously near the cell, his face obscured by shadows, before vanishing without explanation. Paranormal investigators exploring the area have captured EVP recordings suggesting the presence of a male voice whispering phrases like, "Get out," and "Leave me alone." Another haunting figure associated with the penitentiary is believed to be Leo Callahan, one of the few inmates to successfully escape in 1923. Callahan's daring breakout made headlines but came at a cost. He was never recaptured and is presumed to have perished in the wilderness. Locals believe his ghost haunts the prison's outer walls, forever searching for freedom. Guests walking along the perimeter report hearing faint rattling chains and the sound of footsteps crunching gravel, as though someone is attempting to flee again. Others describe seeing a shadowy figure scaling the walls, his silhouette dissolving into mist when directly observed. The penitentiary's underground tunnels, once used for transporting supplies and housing solitary confinement cells, have also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Employees tasked with maintaining the area describe hearing muffled screams and the sound of footsteps echoing through the narrow passageways, though no one else is present. Objects are known to move inexplicably. Tools vanish only to reappear hours later in entirely different locations. One particularly unnerving incident involved a janitor who swore he saw a young boy playing with marbles in the corner of the room, only for the child to disappear when approached. Theories abound that the boy may have been a victim of illness or accident during the prison's operational years, forever trapped in the confines of its lower levels. Modern-day investigations into the Eastern State Penitentiary's supernatural claims have yielded intriguing results. Thermal imaging cameras reveal significant temperature drops in specific areas, including the central rotunda and the underground tunnels. Electromagnetic field (EMF) meters register unusual spikes, particularly near antique furniture pieces believed to have belonged to original occupants. Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from audio recordings, which capture disembodied voices uttering fragmented sentences like, "I didn't do it," and "Set me free." Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, the Eastern State Penitentiary remains a popular destination for tourists and locals alike. Its picturesque setting and rich history make it a favorite spot for photography and leisurely exploration. For those brave enough to venture inside after dark, the promise of encountering Al Capone, Leo Callahan, or one of the countless other spirits said to linger adds an element of fascination and trepidation. Yet, as each new visitor steps onto the iron planks, they must ask themselves, are they prepared to face the echoes of the past, or will they become another chapter in the penitentiary's macabre legacy? The Penhust Asylum, a legacy of neglect tucked away in Spring City, Pennsylvania. The Penhust Asylum stands as a haunting relic of institutional neglect and systemic abuse. A sprawling complex that once housed individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Established in 1908, the facility was intended as a haven for care and rehabilitation. Instead, it became a house of horrors, its corridors echoing with the cries of patients subjected to overcrowding, malnutrition, and inhumane treatments. By the time it closed in 1987 following widespread exposés and lawsuits, Penhust had earned a reputation as one of the most egregious examples of institutional failure in American history. One of the most persistent legends tied to Penhust involves Ward 6, said to be haunted by the spirit of a young girl named Dorothy. Historical records indicate that Dorothy was admitted to the asylum as a child and spent decades confined within its walls. Her tragic death occurred under mysterious circumstances, sparking rumors of foul play. Visitors exploring the abandoned facility report hearing faint humming emanating from Ward 6, accompanied by the sensation of icy fingers brushing against their skin. Some claim to see a translucent figure resembling Dorothy wandering the halls, her hollow eyes fixed on some unseen point in the distance. Another prominent figure in the asylum's haunted lore is believed to be Dr. Henry Austin, a controversial physician whose aggressive approach to treating patients left lasting scars. Former staff members whisper about unauthorized experiments conducted under the guise of medical research, including electroshock therapy and forced sterilizations. Paranormal investigators exploring the property have documented chilling EVP recordings capturing fragmented phrases like, "Why won't they stop?" and "Please let me go." Witnesses describe seeing a tall, gaunt figure clad in a white coat standing motionless near examination tables, his expression frozen in eternal anguish. The asylum's basement, once used for storage and restraint cells, has also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Employees tasked with cleaning the area often describe hearing muffled screams and the sound of footsteps echoing through the cavernous space, though no one else is present. Objects are known to move inexplicably. Tools vanish only to reappear hours later in entirely different locations. One particularly unnerving incident involved a janitor who swore he saw a young boy playing with marbles in the corner of the room, only for the child to disappear when approached. Theories abound that the boy may have been a victim of illness or accident during the asylum's operational years, forever trapped in the confines of its lower levels. Modern-day investigations into the Penhurst Asylum's supernatural claims have yielded intriguing results. Thermal imaging cameras reveal significant temperature drops in specific areas, including the central rotunda and the underground tunnels. Electromagnetic field (EMF) meters register unusual spikes, particularly near antique furniture pieces believed to have belonged to original occupants. Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from audio recordings, which capture disembodied voices uttering fragmented sentences like, "I didn't do it," and "Set me free." Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, the Penhurst Asylum remains a popular destination for tourists and locals alike. Its picturesque setting and rich history make it a favorite spot for photography and leisurely exploration. For those brave enough to venture inside after dark, the promise of encountering Dorothy, Dr. Austin, or one of the countless other spirits said to linger adds an element of fascination and trepidation. Yet, as each new visitor steps onto the iron planks, they must ask themselves, are they prepared to face the echoes of the past, or will they become another chapter in the asylum's macabre legacy? Patterns across haunted abandoned places, themes of tragedy and resilience as we traverse the haunted landscapes of America. From the opulent halls of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum to the somber grounds of the Waverly Hills Sanatorium, striking similarities emerge that transcend individual locations and histories. These patterns are not merely coincidental but reflect universal themes of human emotion, unresolved trauma, and the enduring power of memory. From the wailing wards of sanatoriums to the shadowed basements of penitentiaries, these sites share a commonality that binds them together in a spectral sisterhood of sorrow and suspense. One recurring motif is the concept of unfinished business. Whether it's the victims of unethical experiments, or the betrayed trust of patients subjected to inhumane treatments, these spirits seem tethered to the earthly realm by grievances left unaddressed. Their presence manifests as restless energy, often communicated through auditory phenomena, cries, whispers, or disembodied voices, that serve as pleas for acknowledgement or closure. This theme resonates across cultures and belief systems, reflecting humanity's innate need to resolve conflict and seek peace, even in death. Another shared characteristic is the role of architecture in amplifying paranormal activity. Historic buildings, with their labyrinthine corridors, thick walls, and hidden alcoves, create environments conducive to isolating individuals and heightening fear. These structural elements act as metaphors for the psychological barriers erected by those who suffered within their confines, trapping emotions such as anger, despair, and regret. It's no coincidence that many reported hauntings occur in spaces imbued with emotional significance: operating rooms where surgeries went awry, basements where bodies were stored, or wards where patients met tragic ends. Lighting and sensory manipulation also feature prominently in these narratives. Flickering lights, sudden temperature drops, and inexplicable odors are staples of ghostly encounters, designed to disorient and unsettle. Such phenomena strip away the comfort of familiarity, forcing guests to confront the unknown. The use of mirrors, a recurring element in stories from various haunted hospitals, adds another layer of psychological tension, as reflections distort perception and blur the boundary between self and other. This interplay of light and shadow becomes a tool wielded by unseen forces, creating moments of visceral terror that linger long after the initial shock subsides. Finally, the prevalence of historical context cannot be overstated. Each location's haunting is deeply rooted in its unique past, shaped by the socio-cultural milieu of its time. The brutal medical practices embedded in the DNA of older establishments contrast sharply with the glamorous yet tragic lives immortalized in urban legends. Yet both narratives tap into broader archetypes of ambition, betrayal, and mortality, ensuring their resonance with audiences regardless of personal experience. By drawing on these universal motifs, these haunted places transform from mere buildings into living repositories of collective memory, inviting us to peer into the abyss of our shared humanity. Thus, while each establishment boasts its own distinct flavor of fright, the underlying threads connecting them reveal a tapestry rich with meaning. These patterns remind us that the supernatural is not so much about the entities themselves but the stories they tell, the echoes of lives interrupted, passions extinguished, and truths obscured. As we continue to explore these haunted locales, we find ourselves grappling not only with the specters of the past but with the timeless questions they raise about life, death, and everything in between. The psychology of fear. Why haunted places captivate us? What is it about haunted places that grips our imaginations so profoundly? Beyond the creaking floorboards and flickering lights lies a deeper allure, one rooted in the psychology of fear and the human fascination with the unknown. These sites, by their very nature, are places of vulnerability. They are where we confront our mortality, stripped of autonomy and control, relying entirely on the expertise of others to heal us, or where justice was denied, leaving wounds that refuse to heal. When these spaces become haunted, they amplify our primal fears, transforming familiar settings into arenas of existential dread. The combination of historical context, architectural design, and the lingering presence of past suffering creates a perfect storm of terror that resonates deeply within us. The core of this captivation is the concept of liminality, the state of being on the threshold between two worlds. Haunted places exist in this liminal space, bridging life and death, health and illness, hope and despair. This inherent duality makes them fertile ground for supernatural narratives. Ghosts, as manifestations of unresolved trauma or unfinished business, embody the tension of being caught between states. They serve as reminders that the boundaries we construct, between life and afterlife, sanity and madness, are far more permeable than we'd like to believe. For many, visiting a haunted site feels like stepping into a twilight zone where the rules of reality no longer apply, igniting both curiosity and unease. Architecturally, haunted places contribute to this atmosphere of dread through their design. Long, sterile hallways lined with identical doors create a sense of disorientation, while poor lighting and echoing acoustics heighten sensory awareness. These features mimic the psychological effects of anxiety and claustrophobia, making even mundane sounds, a distant cough, the hum of fluorescent lights, feel ominous. The labyrinthine layouts of older structures, with their hidden wings and underground tunnels, evoke feelings of entrapment and uncertainty. Every corner becomes a potential threat, every shadow a possible harbinger of danger. This environmental manipulation taps into our instinctual fight-or-flight response, keeping us perpetually on edge. Cultural influences also play a significant role in shaping our fascination with haunted places. Media representations, from films like The Shining to television series such as American Horror Story, have cemented the trope of the haunted asylum, courthouse, or battlefield as a locus of horror. These portrayals often blend historical truths with fictional embellishments, creating a mythology that blurs fact and fiction. Audiences are drawn to these stories because they reflect societal anxieties about institutional power, systemic injustice, and the fragility of the human mind. Haunted places become microcosms of larger fears: the loss of agency, the misuse of authority, and the haunting specter of mistakes made in the name of progress. Moreover, haunted places appeal to our desire for catharsis. Engaging with these tales allows us to process our own fears about mortality, injustice, and the flaws inherent in systems meant to protect us. By confronting ghostly apparitions and unexplained phenomena, we externalize internal anxieties, transforming abstract fears into tangible adversaries. This vicarious experience provides a safe outlet for exploring the darker aspects of human existence, offering both thrill and relief. It's no wonder that ghost tours and paranormal investigations of haunted places attract participants eager to test their courage against the unknown. Ultimately, the enduring allure of haunted places lies in their ability to mirror our deepest fears while challenging our understanding of reality. They remind us that the past is never truly buried, that pain and injustice leave indelible marks on both people and places. As we walk their haunted halls, we are forced to confront not only the spirits said to inhabit them but also the ghosts within ourselves, the regrets, doubts, and unanswered questions that linger long after the wounds have healed. In doing so, we find a strange comfort in knowing that we are not alone in our fears, that others have walked these same paths and emerged, shaken but alive, to tell their stories. As we bring this chilling journey through America's most haunted abandoned places to a close, one thing becomes abundantly clear: the spirits of the past refuse to be silenced. Each creaking floorboard, each whispered name, and each fleeting shadow serves as a testament to lives lived, lost, and lingering in the spaces we dare to call haunted. These stories are more than mere campfire tales. They are fragments of history, stitched together by human emotion, tragedy, and the relentless passage of time. They remind us that the line between the living and the dead is far thinner than we might believe, and that sometimes the most terrifying truths lie just beyond the veil. But why stop here? If these accounts have stirred something within you, a spark of curiosity, a shiver of excitement, I urge you to take the next step. Visit one of these haunted abandoned places yourself. Walk the same halls where spirits are said to roam, stand in the rooms where history's echoes reverberate, and let the unknown brush against your senses. Whether you're a skeptic seeking proof or a believer eager to commune with the other side, these forsaken institutions offer an unparalleled opportunity to confront the mysteries that lie just beyond comprehension. There's nothing quite like experiencing the weight of decades-old despair firsthand, feeling the chill of a presence that defies explanation, or hearing the faint strains of voices from another time. And when you return, share your story. Did you feel the icy touch of a ghostly hand? Hear the faint tap of footsteps in an empty corridor? Or perhaps nothing happened at all. But isn't that silence just as intriguing? Your experiences add to the rich tapestry of lore surrounding these haunted places, ensuring their legacies endure for generations to come. Share your findings with fellow enthusiasts, document your journey, and keep the conversation alive. After all, every whisper contributes to the symphony of the supernatural. Until then, keep your lanterns lit and your courage steady. The spirits are waiting.